what wonderful videos and slideshow. It really gives someone a perspective on where we've been. And without all the wonderful souls that come to Ananda Chennai, we just wouldn't be the vibration that we are. I am I don't want to say the word impressed, but daily I feel so grateful for all the dedicated souls that come. At times it seems like magic. New people come in the door and suddenly they're committed. And we find over and over again people who have finally found a home here. And it's so pleasing to see people take this as their own and want to grow and want to introspect. And over time we will create more and more of a spiritual community. We already are. But over time, people will learn better how to get along with each other. People will learn more what it means to live in harmony with others. And it's not a simple philosophy to live in harmony with others, because every society has its challenge. One of the challenges here is the hierarchy of feeling like I have to compete with others in order to get to the top of the ladder. And they come in the door here and they say, okay, how can I get to the top of the ladder? How can I climb on other people? And there's none of that here. This is not, the spiritual path is not a place where there is competition. It's not a place where there's comparison. You know, each individual must find their own way to God. It has nothing to do with anyone else. And that's what we're all here for, together, to find God as individuals. And so, one of the things I would like to erase is the sense of someone being someone else's senior. Because it's just not true. It has no place here. And someone can walk in this door and be more spiritually advanced than someone who came 4 years ago. You know, I received Kriya a number of years before Dharmarajan. I would never say, I'm your senior. You know, it's when we saw a Nadi reader, and he said, you are both the same age spiritually. So, you know, we need to get rid of that sense of senior. And in 10 years, who cares if someone received Kriya a few more years more than you? It doesn't count. And so we should get rid of that. And Ananda is always a revolving door. People come, they go, some come back, they go. You know, it's shocking for some people at first when they come and they've had their classmates, and then suddenly there's only 2 out of their 10 classmates that are even here. And it's like, what happened? But this is a difficult path. Difficult on the material plane, I would say, just in terms of figuring out when I can meditate and all those kinds of things. And then we have the inner blocks to it. You know, sometimes it's harder for me. And so some people are meant to come and excel and move forward right away. Others come and a seed is planted. And when that seed is planted, that is beautiful. And that's why we never hold an attachment on people who come here. We never say, now that you're here, you're here. You know, none of that. We support every soul and every soul's growth here. And so if it means you're here and you're here, great. If it means you're here and then you have to go away for a while to do some other karma and then you're back, great. If you've just come once for, say, a level 1 class and you had the seed of Hang Sa, planted inside, and then you go off and find some other Satguru, great. That's how we should be with the spiritual family here, not attached. And we want to support the highest for each person. That means giving them the freedom to come and go as they want, the freedom to come and go as deeply as they want, to come and serve as much as they want, or to just come once a week and soak it all in because they need to go home and fight the battle. And so that's what this place is for. If we start attaching to everybody, and it doesn't mean that there's not a love and respect for people, but very often people say when they are in their own blood families that there's a lot of disharmony in the household, and there's a lot of I'm your senior, you do what I say, and repression that happens on people. People get put in roles and then they're looked that way the rest of their lives. But how can we grow spiritually if we're bound by other people's expectations and other people's thoughts about who we are? You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. Oh, you say you're spiritual. Why did you get mad just now? Some people do not support our spiritual growth, and it's important to not rebel outwardly about it, but to see it for what it is. Because if we want to grow, we need to break out of self-definitions and definitions that others put on us. And then there can be such a freedom inside. It doesn't mean we don't do our duty. It doesn't mean we don't do our dharma, which is what God is telling us to do in this life. But we can have that inner freedom. The more we meditate, the less we feel bound to fulfill a narrow definition of us. And it's so wonderful to just feel like I can grow. And we want it to be a place where people come and they can explore who they truly are and how their souls really want to express themselves within and without, and not be bound by, oh, you're this way, you're that way. Having lived in spiritual community for 25 years now, it's amazing to see everything that has gone on through the years from beginning to now. And it's the same everywhere, really. In terms of people are people wherever you go. People will disappoint us, or people will inspire us. So many different things can happen. I was thinking the other day, I said this in class yesterday, but I remember a situation, I used to be like witty and intellectual. I was an electrical engineer and quick on my feet and, could give a good jab whenever it was needed and, be bright and intelligent. And, I identified with that way of being. And I held on to that because that was my ego. But also what it did was it disconnected me from my heart. And so, there were times when, I'd be a little rough, or a little heartless in some of my interactions. And I was completely oblivious to it. It was like, what? That was a really witty thing to say, right? Or I can, stand up for myself, or whatever it was that I did. But Swamiji, in his training of us, worked on us over the years. And he gave us space to be who we are. He didn't say, Dharmini, you need to get a better heart. Stop it. He never did that. He just kept talking about kindness. He just kept talking about cooperation. he encouraged us to just meditate, because meditation is just the thing that's going to change us. And over the years, it just works on you. I look back on that and I go, I remember it took me a long time to figure out I was heartless I remember one specific situation where I was heartless towards someone, and I could have said almost the exact same thing I said to her, but with heart, and it would have been okay. And so I remember back on that time. In fact, I only remembered it recently in meditation. And sometimes in meditation, things come up to resolve. I've been contemplating whether to write to her and say, remember 20 years ago? And some of these things we can apologize to people. Sometimes we just, in our heart, send prayers and support to others. But in meditation, sometimes things come up that are meant to be resolved, and then we feel freer and lighter. And so anyway, if someone held me to, oh, you used to be, so witty, but that wasn't fully appreciated, it's like, it feels like a different person back then. And I had the space to grow into who, I'm not going to say who I am today, not that, but I had the space to grow. Let's just put it that way. And the respect, not I get respect, just people had respect for the growth process. They weren't thinking of my growth process, but because Swamiji spoke about this respect for others, not holding seniority above others. In America, seniority doesn't exist at all culturally. People just don't do it. There's a lot of good in, if someone has more experience, to respect that experience. There's a lot of good in that. There's good in respecting elders and things like that, and people who have put their hours in. But not to be limited by it. Not to be limited, and not to hold it over other people. Not to say, well, I came before you. None of that. It doesn't exist at Ananda. There's no I came before you. The way you can measure someone is not by their number of years, but how kind they are, how loving they are towards others, how supportive they are, how selfless in terms of just not being so self-concerned but helping others, how serviceful they are. These are traits that we can be judged by, as opposed to my years or more. None of that matters. And all that does is mean that when people come in the door, if they see a group of people whose egos are attached to I was here first, then they join in. Okay, you're here first, but now I'm here. And so the next people that come now I'm over them because they came last. See how limiting that is? And it's the ego that says, I want to be important somehow. Somehow I want to be important. But we're all important here. Every person has importance. Just to be who they are and fit into the puzzle. All the puzzle pieces that are shaped differently. The Money Make-alike puzzle piece. The Gita puzzle piece. The Sima puzzle piece. All the different puzzle pieces that fit together perfectly. And we're just ever so grateful for all of the puzzle pieces here. The soul pieces, we should say, that are here. And to see so much growth in people. It's just amazing to see so much growth. It's a blessing to be in a level 1 class and see how even just after 1 week of Hong Sa, people feel changed. Just 1 week. And so that's just the beginning. And then to see people who work pretty hard to get that Kriya, and then Kriya is just the beginning, of the rest of your life. It can be approached a little bit like, I just want to get Kriya, and then it's like they get Kriya. okay, now that you have Kriya, welcome to the rest of your life. There's no more outer ladder to climb to try and achieve more outwardly. But there's a whole lot to achieve inwardly. There's so much depth to be perceived, so much spiritual energy to be perceived. And the more we work on that meditation practice, the more we work on our intuition, the more we work on opening our hearts, then all of that is what gives us our sense of fulfillment. And we find our fulfillment isn't in the outer role. It's not in the outer climb. That fulfillment is feeling the presence of God more and more deeply. That in itself is the biggest reward. And if you can't feel yet, then work on feeling. And if you can't feel, visualize. And feeling will come, but the heart has to open. And so you have to ask yourself, what can I do to open my heart? How can I open my heart? And work on those things. Those are the goals in life. The goal in life is to feel bliss. Okay, well, how do I do that? And I had a friend who had a very crippling disease, chronic fatigue. And before that, she was she was a librarian, which I didn't know many librarians, but apparently she was a really hotshot librarian who did a lot of research and was very well known in her field and very goal-oriented and could do a lot. She was very capable and could do a lot. Well, when she got this disease, she couldn't do anything. She said she had to redefine her goals. Before, her goal was, how much can I do? How much can I achieve? Can I advance here and advance there? But then when the illness came, she could no longer achieve in those outer ways as much. And so she had to redefine her goals in life. And those goals became inner goals. How much peace did I feel today? How much joy did I feel today? How much of the presence of God did I feel today? Those are the goals. And we have all the tools to achieve that. That's so beautiful also. So thank you all for being here. If we do what our soul is being asked to do, there's just nothing but ease and happiness around it. I don't miss much about America at all. I mean, I love nature, so it's a little more challenging to be outside in nature when it's 42 degrees or something like that. But, that can happen anywhere. It'll be 40 degrees in Ananda Village in August. So the U.S. has hot weather also, just not all the time. But still, isn't weather just such a small thing compared to having soul joy? It's just such a small thing. And so we're so joyful you're all here today. And for those who aren't here, who might see this video, we're very grateful for you also, and those online as well. So God bless you.